All right, great. Well, let's go ahead and get started. There's still more folks that are joining us, but let's go ahead and just kind of jump in here. So good morning, everybody. Welcome. And we have a couple of folks a few folks from Europe, actually, they're here this morning also, which is great. And a lot of folks, obviously, from around the US and especially Southern California. So good morning, welcome. We're at the end of May. We've just about made it through another month of this crazy lockdown. So we're kind of getting through here as best as we all can. It's been nice to see a lot of positive stories out there of things that are happening. People are doing a lot of things to help out, of course, fellow neighbors and other folks out there. Companies are doing a lot for their employees also. There's a lot of conversation in the HR and recruiting world, if you will, just talking about what's happening and what the future of work is going to look like going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how things unfold over the coming weeks and months for sure. As Trevor was just talking about, Twitter just put a tweet out this morning talking about how they're going to allow their employees to work from home pretty much indefinitely. And there's a lot of other companies that have come out with a similar kind of a policy. So it's definitely going to alter the landscape out there, to say the least. We are looking forward to getting back to live events, hopefully in the next couple months here. As for those of you that have not been part of the group before, we are a 9-year-old organization. I launched the Sales and Marketing Leadership Alliance with Brent Bonine back in 2011. It's hard to believe it's been 9 years, but here we are. We have chapters in San Diego, Orange County, LA, and our Austin chapter was supposed to get off the ground a couple months ago, but needless to say, that was postponed a little bit. But one of the great things about being virtual now is that it's really kind of forced us to figure out, is there a way to convert the same energy or translate the same energy and excitement and the great speaker content that we have to a virtual setting? And fortunately, the answer has been a resounding yes. This is, I think, the 6th or 7th virtual event that we've done, which is great. So next month in June, we are going to be rolling out our new virtual membership, which is geared towards folks that are in cities where there aren't live events. And for those also that may not be able to attend every single month as well. So that'll be rolling out next month. And we will start to be charging a very, very small fee for non-members to join our webinars also, just to kind of keep things going and be able to continue the quality of the speakers that we have also. So be on the lookout for those coming out shortly in the next week or so with our virtual membership coming up also. As we get into the conversation this morning, as I've mentioned a couple times already, please feel free. And in fact, we really want you to ask questions, engage with us, talk to myself and Trevor about what we're seeing, our experiences out there also. And we're happy to answer questions. And this is a very much of a live interactive session versus just a monologue here for sure. Also, I want to thank our sponsors. I know it's been tough because they haven't been able to be seen, live and in person through all this, but I'm really thankful for all of our sponsors out there that have stuck with us through all this. Rob and Terry Sweetie over at Sales Growth Associates, you may have seen that they just merged with another Sandler training program, which is great. We've got Amy as well, who does all the work for Billable at the Beach and her consulting practice on operations side, which is great. We have Ryan as well from Replica Printing. We have the folks from Out in the Back Communication, Lauren. So there's a lot of wonderful sponsors that we have that have been part of the group for a long time. So, and you'll see all their information on our website also, which is great. So thank you again to our sponsors as always. For those that I have not met before, my name is Ken Schmitt. I'm the CEO and founder of both SMLA as well as TurningPoint Executive Search. And we focus on placing on a national basis. We focus on placing executive leadership positions, sales, marketing, as well as operations. I never thought this would actually come out of my mouth, but we just filled a position for a CEO, and our client never ever met the candidate in person through the whole process. Who would have thought, 3 months ago that I would ever say that we just placed a CEO and our client never met them? But this virtual, interviewing and recruiting platform, if you will, and process has actually gone pretty well. So I encourage you, as you're talking to your own clients or your own companies, for them to realize that it is doable. It certainly takes a little bit of adjustment along the way and some flexibility. But if you can hire a CEO for a consumer electronics company, you can hire just about anybody virtually. So I'm happy to say that's working going forward. I also want to mention that one of the things that we've always done in person, which we've also been able to translate here online, is the fact that we do what's called success trios. Basically, it's a chance for 3 people to go off and have a separate kind of conversation, if you will, a bit of a deeper dive. When we do it in person, it's meant to be a lunch or a coffee meeting. Here is going to be another Zoom meeting, but just for 3 people individually. And so I encourage you all, if you are interested in being in a success trio, and many of you have done this on a regular basis, it's a huge success. A lot of great lead sharing comes out of it. A lot of just kind of business market intelligence comes out of it. And even some hires have come out of these success trios also. Please go ahead and email Elaine. She's going to put her email address in the chat also, and you can get a hold of her directly, and she'll put you in one of the trios also. It's a lot of fun. It's gone very, very well. And I encourage you all to do it as well. So thank you also. Okay, so with that, I'm going to let Trevor introduce himself. He and I met, gosh, about 2 years ago, I want to say. He did speak to our Orange County group, was on a panel there. We've had several interactions, both in person as well as over the phone, and he's just a great guy. Has a lot of exciting kind of information to share in terms of his business, but also in talking about storytelling in general. It's obviously very, very relevant right now, and making sure that what you're talking about is relevant for your audience and you're not coming across as being tone deaf. It's very important to sound very genuine right now. So Trevor, I'll let you introduce yourself and we'll get going.
Yeah. Hi guys. Trevor Rappleye, CEO of CorporateFilming and franchise filming. So we tell stories that drive sales. That's really what we do, unscripted, on video. And that's what I'm really excited to do, because as a salesperson, sometimes I'm like, why is this sale not going through? And it's because I didn't actually tell my story or tell them why I love what I do. Right. So that's something I want to kind of dive in with this. And I never thought I'd be able to tell my story. Why would they care that I've been filming since I was 15? Like, why should they care? But they do. And people want to work with people. So that's what I want to kind of dive into. So, yeah.
Great. Welcome. And so give us a little sense for your business also, Trevor. So you're up in Long Beach, as you talked about, in your new place there. Congrats.
Yes.
And yeah, exactly. Give us a sense for kind of the makeup of your team and how you execute and deliver on the videos for your corporate clients.
Yeah. So one of the pain points that we wanted to solve is, why should somebody hire us over a college kid that's going to cost $300, right? And that's a lot of the pain points we used to get, right? But the minute we flipped our marketing and we talked about the value that we bring, the story that we bring, the client testimonials that are saying they helped us find XYZ in ROI, it shot through the roof. So really what we do is we tell stories on film on a monthly or weekly basis. So it doesn't work now to kind of post a video every 5 years that's 5 minutes long, right? So really what our team does is we create digestible content, and that means 90 seconds maximum. I know that's crazy to hear, but I mean, the end goal of a film is not for somebody to watch your video. It's for them to convert or buy from you. So that's really what we do, is we like to tell unscripted stories. We don't charge travel. We get films done in only 10 days, because a lot of the pain points I heard is my film is taking so long. So I've just learned, just being on the front line, that to kind of hit those pain points. I have an awesome team of 4 full-time. We work with a lot of subs. Off the record with the AB5 law, I don't know how that's going to flip everything around. But right now we're very sub-heavy and very full-time heavy. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit, if you would, Trevor, and speaking of storytelling, is how you're telling your story now after you did your rebrand a couple of years ago, right? Because you were doing largely wedding videos, if I remember correctly, and event videos.
Yep.
You successfully pivoted, and now the story that you tell is very different.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to put a link, if people see the chat, to kind of a link to our story, pictures of me as a kid, just everything that just humanizes me, right? So when we spoke at your last event, I think in Orange County, right, we talked about pivot. So what we did was kind of a risky move. It's like we did 100 wedding videos a year back into 2015. And it was so fun. It was so stressful. It was Bridezillas, and Groomzillas, right? And most of the time we did nothing wrong. It was just low revenue, right? And I just was like, I thought to myself one day, I'm like, do I want to do 100 wedding videos at 3,000 a pop, or do I want to do 30 corporate videos at 10K a pop? And then it's, if that math hopefully is right as I'm talking, it just kind of was a mind flip for us. And I was like, wow, how do we do that? So what we did is I was working with my biz coach to slowly turn off weddings, like slowly. But as we were doing that, we were still getting leads in, and I was still closing wedding deals. And the thing about wedding videos is, if someone books us on May 1st, they're about to get married Jan 1st of next year. Their film won't be done until May of 2021. Corporate films, we can literally film today, and the film is done in 10 days. And I'm like, hold on, there's something here, right? So what we did is I woke up one day and I'm like, screw it, we're gonna turn off like weddings. And I just was like, I'm done with it. I miss it every day because the story and the love that we were able to film. But we kind of used that knowledge of wedding filming and we put it towards corporate videos, right? How do we tell the story of corporate videos? So to kind of wrap on all this, what we did is we turned off weddings. We started advertising on Google, paying a ridiculous $15 a click. So I made the same joke last time, but if you search corporate filming, please don't click our ad. It will cost me a lot of money. Just type in corporatefilming.net. And we had about 6 months of just nothing, right? And it's like, was this the right move? Was this the right move? Looking backwards, though, it was totally the right move. We had to adjust our value prop and what we were saying, right? So we didn't just say we film videos. It's like, hey, if you want ongoing films, never be charged travel, videos done in 10 days, then we're the team. And that just really helped us. So.
Wow. So no, I know now, obviously in this setting, you are giving us a full story of kind of the full background, but in terms of your own storytelling with your business, do you talk about the pivot? Do you talk about that rebrand with prospective new clients on the corporate side, or do you focus just on what you do today?
Yeah. So I feel like that's a great question. I feel like I don't, because the reason why I don't is corporate companies that are spending $10,000, $50,000 on a set of videos don't want a wedding videographer. Right. It's nothing against them. I used to be there, but they don't want that. So I realized to not say that, but once they book with me, I get to know them. I go out to dinner with them whenever pre-COVID, right? And then I kind of tell them that story. So I could actually share my screen a little bit, if that, just so you guys can see it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, great.
You guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
So really what we did here is during COVID, we had about 30 days of no top line, right? And we were like, man, because we were letting partners not pay us, because I really am in it for the long haul, right? So what we did is we worked on our story. Like, how can we tell the story of other people if we don't tell ours, right? And this is what we did. It's just like, it humanizes me. Our team all has pages like this. It talks about, like, this is my first company. I was 13. I was converting VHS to disc. And actually, one of the funniest things someone's pointed out at the bottom, it says, a menu is optional, but it is a great feature to skip ahead when dad leaves the camera on. And it's like, and I passed this out to 1,000 houses. I thought I was going to get 100 phone calls. I think I made like $80 my first month. So it was a great business lesson at 13. So, going back to the story, I also referee college soccer, right? UCLA, Pac-12. It's just, so now when people are talking to me, it's like, oh, Trevor and his team aren't just another video guy. They seem fun. they seem cool, you know? So something that we are really passionate about is people work with people, not logos. And I feel like we all just use stock photos. We're like afraid to tell people our story, but people want that these days, right? They want to see you with your kids. They want to see you out with your staff. I'll quickly actually let this play for a second of what this film is. And this is actually what I recommend for all salespeople out there, is being able to to tell your story. Like, how can they get to know you if they never meet you? And this is how we kind of accomplish that.
So my role here at CorporateFilming is the CEO and founder. We are constantly trying to help different companies tell their story, and just being able to tell stories every day is something that we love to do. So a little unknown fact that people don't know about me is I am a triplet. No, we don't look alike. I also referee D1 college soccer. It's my other love. So I love.
So as this is going, right, and all this can be seen on the link, is this really humanized us, and it really helped us close some big ticket items because they saw our passion, you know, they saw the love for what we do. So
that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I love, like you said, the way that the website humanizes who you are, what you do. Obviously, it's fantastic, and the emotion comes through so well, also, which I love. A question for you. So a lot of the folks that are part of SMLA or that are on the call today also are part of small businesses, or maybe they're consultants, and some are part of larger companies too. But I know there's a lot of angst out there among folks that feel like, well, I don't have the resources or the knowledge to do a professional video. Obviously, that's your business and you do it very, very well. What advice or thoughts would you have for folks that want to bring some of that authenticity and kind of genuine, human component, if you will, to their website and to their story, but they don't have the expertise to film a video?
Yeah, so something that I've learned with me is I want to walk before I run, right? So yes, you should hire a film crew and make a brand video, yes, but it's so attainable that you could literally go like this on Zoom, right? Or get your iPhone out and get in front of a window, right? I'm in front of my window, so it's the natural light, and just talk about the love for what you do. Talk about what makes you you. So for people that don't have, a film crew budget, a great way to do that is just literally a Friday, talk on your iPhone and just go like this and say, hey guys, happy Friday. I loved working with you guys. Hey, I love what I do. Did you know that I have a kid? And did you know that 5 out of 10 salespeople don't know how to close a deal? Just some sort of stat. Like, think of how many emails we all get versus how many phone calls we get versus how many video messages we all get. It just gets tinier and tinier and tinier. So we use a great app called BombBomb, bombbomb.com. I don't really know how to spell it, but it's a way to embed videos into a sales email. And it's just, so now instead of saying, hey, Tim, here's your contract, it's a video of you saying, hey, Tim, man, I cannot wait to work with you. I hope you had fun in Lake Tahoe. Right down there is where the contract is. And then they see you. So I think that's what I want to kind of really get across, is I think we all overthink content and then we end up doing nothing.
Right, exactly. Kind of that old kind of paralysis by analysis, where we overthink it and think, well, it's not perfect, but go with that old adage of the minimally viable product, right? Same goes for video and for that piece also. So to that point, one of the questions that came from Jam is, what are your thoughts about client testimonials as opposed to filming yourself, filming a client instead? Is there a pluses or minuses, pros and cons of that approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not immune to the fact that people want to hear my story, but no one cares if I think I'm good, right? They care, they care what our customers think, right? So yes, absolutely. Don't just tell your story, but how do you email 10 people that have used you? 7 will say, no, I can't do it because of legal. 3 will say yes. And don't overthink it. Even have them send a low-res iPhone video or hop on Zoom and just, once again, keep it short, keep it to 90 seconds and talk about it, right? Talk about, would you recommend us? What did you like about us? Do not have a script. Ask questions that evoke an answer, right? So what is the ROI from using us, right? If they know that, that's the best answer you could ever get. Like one of our franchise people said, we created a bunch of franchise films for them, and it's literally on our website. Franchise Filming and Trevor's team helped us close $400,000.
Wow.
And it's just like, if that doesn't justify a cost of video, I don't know what does, right?
Exactly right. You couldn't have any better ROI coming right from your client. That's perfect.
Yeah, and social proof, I really believe a lot of sales don't go through because the lead doesn't trust you. And why should they? They've never met you. They've never used your service. So being able to show them videos of customers saying, Ken is great, Mary is great, they picked up my call at midnight, they helped me do XYZ. You're just gonna see sales start to go through because now there's social proof that you do a good job.
Right, exactly. And one of the other things that, as I mentioned earlier, about how we as SMLA never knew for sure if what we did in live events would translate online. Fortunately, it has, thanks to everybody on the call, right? So my question is with regard to Zoom recordings. We are all so familiar with and comfortable with Zoom right now. You can jump on with a free account and have it be just me and you, Trevor, and we can have that organic conversation, record it, and then we can use that somewhat in our social media, campaigns on our website. Is that something that you'd recommend also?
Yep, and you beat me to that. I was actually going to say that. Zoom is a very low cost, and we actually do it. So now, for COVID, we did a video last week, went to Phoenix, filmed people at the HQ office, since Phoenix, I think, is completely open at this point, I think, or almost. But the people that didn't want to travel, we actually got them on Zoom. And we asked them, hey, are you free tomorrow for 10 minutes? Here's the Zoom link, da-da-da. So actually, I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I can also just share my screen for people that don't want to leave the window. So here's something we did with, this was a 10-minute Zoom interview, and this literally, what he says is, this was such an attainable thing to get that I send this out with every single lead I get. So I can quickly just show this.
I always knew the video was important to my marketing campaigns and my efforts. I had no idea how it would impact our sales. So within the first 30 days, Trevor, this was just so amazing, so rewarding. In the first 30 days of us posting our video on our website, we got our first $100,000 a year client. And it was just like that. And he told us that.
So it's like, yes, but I wanted Vaughn to come to my office and light him well. But hey, work with what you can. So for people that don't have a film crew budget, what I recommend is just get them on Zoom, post the raw 2-minute, 90-second back and forth. I bet that will be your most engaged video of the year because it's just authentic.
Right, exactly. Well, and for those of you that are watching me right now, so I'm in my office. I've been virtual since day one when I started Turning Point 13 years ago. I never thought I'd actually be recording or presenting, like this in this setting years ago, but here we are. But I mean, just to let you know, I don't have anything fancy set up here at all. I have the sign in my back, in the back that we use for our regular live events. I have a spotlight, over to my right-hand shoulder, just making sure that the light is hopefully kind of smoothed out, if you will, in the office. But that's all it is. So there's nothing really formal or fancy, or I didn't make a big investment in what you're seeing today. So that's aside from the haircut my wife gave me with the cutters that we bought. Other than that, nothing else. So yeah, you can do it again on a larger budget where it's more professional, or on a shoestring budget as well. So I'm curious. So talking a little bit about what you discussed about the Zoom example there with one of your clients. How do you see this changing going forward as far as corporate events go, when there will be corporate events, if and when, and how that's going to change for you and your business, and whether it's going to be more of this kind of remote, if you will, recordings as opposed to live events?
Yeah, so back in the day when we had events, we would convince people to get customers at shows, right? Think of how much we all spend on expos and trade shows and travel and food and the alcohol at night. Just it's so expensive, right? So what we told people, and events will come back around, they will, right? What we used to do is we would have a film crew waiting by their booth all day, just waiting and waiting. And if someone comes by, hey, I love your service. Hey, do you mind saying a quick thing on film, right? We get them, it's 5 minutes long, and then they use that for their marketing for years, right? So during COVID, or when we can't all travel for events and things like that, you have to be able to get your story and your customers on film. And the way that I recommend doing that is on Zoom, even an iPhone video, and just you have to be able to get that on film. And I don't know if I answered that right.
No, that's great. That's very good. Yeah, exactly. And I think it sounds like really kind of like a lot of business right now. It's very fluid, right? And you have to be willing to adjust from week to week and from month to month, depending upon what's happening, and from state to state. Different offices are doing different things. I know, for example, Alphatech Spine up here in Carlsbad, they reopened a couple weeks ago, but they have it set up in the office now where there's only one entrance and one exit. Everything is one way. You have to have certain protection, of course, with masks and gloves. There's sanitizer everywhere. So there are those kinds of companies that have reopened already, and others that are saying, you know what, we're going to stay virtual as long as we possibly can just to protect people. So there's a lot of different schools of thought out there. So it requires us as business owners to also be fluid and flexible depending upon what's going on. So
Yeah.
Actually, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, these are great questions here. I love this. JM actually asked a good question about, the 90-second video clips. And Zoom lost it. There we go. So a drip campaign, right? Yes, the best thing you can do is have a video drip campaign. Someone signs up to you. Hey, I'm Bob. I sell socks. Thanks for signing up. A week later, hey, did you know that 80% of Americans wear socks? Just like knowledge videos, right? And that's a terrible example, but that's kind of where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
So absolutely having a drip campaign, having multiple videos, right? Because it takes 9 to 12 times of somebody seeing you for a sale to go through, and or just for them to convert, which means you get their email. Now you got to start your 6-month sales cycle, right?
Exactly.
So absolutely being able to have different set of videos, and what we actually recommend for that is having an overall brand video, right? We love what we do. Did you know that the founder started this when he was 20? Our passion, right? Don't sell anything on your main video, right? This should just be an about us, and have it in your email. Have it watch our video here. Have it on your homepage. The homepage. Don't have it on a back page because no one's going to it, right? And having a couple other videos about, maybe it's a staff spotlight video, maybe it's a product video, right, on that 5th email you sent out. And last,
kind of a day in the life of one of your employees, if you will. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What about the pace of releasing those videos, right? So there's always, I talked to a lot of different people. They have different ideas about how often you should release one. Should it be released on LinkedIn versus just your website? What are your thoughts about the pace of those releases?
So content is still content, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, if you guys know who that is, one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
He kind of said a line before we did content for ourselves years ago. It was, if you don't have content of yourself online, you do not exist online.
Right.
And that was just kind of a hit, because whether or not we like it, our customers want to see us. There was a stat I read that 90% of consumers expect video to be a part of the sales cycle. And having a video on your homepage, according to HubSpot, gives you 200% more leads, and it keeps them on your website 2 times longer, which means you can convert them, you can live chat. It's just, attention is the name of the game, and I feel like we all, including us, underestimate that, right? And yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, and I think right now, especially, we've all gotten, even more used to video. Video was on the rise for, several years. It's not a new phenomenon, but it has really accelerated, with this lockdown. And if you look at the different posts that people have, things with videos or with, a live shot of somebody, even the more personal things that are out there, birthday parties and what have you, those are the things that get a lot more hits, whether it's on Instagram, obviously when it's on even LinkedIn. So video is becoming even more part of our expectation, to your point, about how we communicate and how we get a point, how we get a point across, how we tell a story, for sure.
Yeah, and little things like, once again, one things I like to give people takeaways when I'm on this. Yes, eventually hire a film crew. Yes, but what you can do this week is do literally. I actually want to share my screen. Every Monday at 10 a.m. we go live on Facebook.
About to be live across.
And I'm actually want to show you guys that just so you guys can see it. We go live with
Trevor, why do you?
We go live with my team, and it's so simple, right? And look at this. We just talk about marketing tips.
I think it's very. I guess take it to a different question is, how do you keep your team motivated?
So
by the news.
We just
start your daily meetings or weekly.
So that was a bad example, but you get the point. Like your people need to see you. So being able to show yourself, I recommend putting it on your iCal, Google Calendar, every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Do something. Literally type do something on your calendar. Just make it so you post something. Yeah.
Would you recommend that maybe people start off making a Zoom just internal, recording it, and then if the quality is good enough and the conversation is relevant, then posting it, as opposed to just jumping right in and doing live streaming when people maybe are not quite there yet?
Good point. I kind of skipped a step.
Okay.
Yeah. So authenticity plays really well, right? And sometimes if you post a really high quality video that's edited, it actually doesn't get as engaged as just an authentic video. So your first video that you do, whether it's a Zoom back and forth, whether it's you with your dog saying, hey, a marketing tip Monday, or, even if you mess up, still post it and label it my first video, happy face.
Right.
And that will be your most engaged post. And I think we all look at the metrics too much about, man, my first post got only 8 people watching, but next week it's going to get 11 and then 15 and then, right? And one of the people watching could be a prospect. Mm-hmm. And that's literally how I think of every single view. I'm like, oh, that sucks. I wish I got more, but that could be a lead watching the video. So I would still post.
Well, that's great. And back to the whole, falling into that trap of paralysis by analysis, right? So speaking of metrics, then, it's hard for folks that are part of larger organizations or even smaller companies, really. There's always this need to prove out an ROI, something that we're not doing right now that we want to start doing. Well, what's the ROI we're going to get out of it, right? So what metrics should we be looking for or tracking, if you will, to make sure that we're doing things the right way and that it's worth our time?
So when you're starting out, in my opinion, you can't expect this ridiculous ROI, right? You post 3 films, a lead is not going to call you back and say, hey, because of that video you posted on May 2nd at 10 a.m., I'm ready to lock something down. Mm-hmm. It's just, don't overthink the ROI. It's more of a touch, at least at the front. It's Ken's story. It's Mary's marketing tip. It's Bob's 5 reasons why you need a lawn care system, right? It's the little touches. If you do have a budget to bring on an advertising agency that tracks that stuff, that's a whole nother conversation, right? But absolutely, I think at the forefront, you can't go into it expecting an ROI, especially if you're just doing social content, right? And do we actually really know if anything works until we actually do it consistently?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Very good. And a couple of folks asked about, virtual backgrounds. And you and I were joking earlier on about whether I wasn't sure if that was really your apartment or is that a virtual background. you know, thoughts about that? Should we, like, I have my sign in the background with our logo. Should people be having some kind of branding background and do it virtual? Should it just be natural? Any thoughts there?
So I actually did this on a sales call because they talked about babies. So I actually changed my background to me as a baby, and like, there I am.
That's great. Yeah. That's awesome.
Right. And this is me and my team. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a background. I mean, yes, I like Ken's background, right? I like the green screens. I like it, but don't let that hinder you from just doing. So I'm a fan of, you can have it, you cannot. I don't actually have one. But don't let that hinder you from starting.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we have some good questions coming through also. So actually, Elaine had asked about whether or not incorporating photos into like a Vimeo or that kind of a platform is as powerful or as effective as a full-blown video. What are your thoughts about that?
Nothing is more powerful than you as the salesperson or you as the business owner speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing is more powerful than that, because how many emails, how many missed calls, how many times did they not pick up your phone call? But if you show them a video and it's about your story and it's short, they will watch that. So I would definitely say nothing is more powerful than a prospect or somebody seeing your face, your happiness, right? If you do have photos, you do use Vimeo, I'm all about it. Yes. But don't let your nervousness stop you from just doing it.
Just trying to do it. Yeah, exactly. That's great. Yeah. Okay, very good. So what about as I mentioned earlier on, that this is very fluid for all of us, right? Yourself included, me, everybody here. Any thoughts or any thoughts you want to share about lessons learned, things that maybe when you first started to pivot over to corporate filming that you thought would work, that just like fell flat? You thought, oh, wow, that was a bad idea, right? Or I'm not going to do that again. Anything that would be helpful? Yeah.
I have a quote on our wall, and it says, if you wait for perfection, you'll be waiting forever. And that is something that my team laughs at me, because I'm like, here's Trevor another quote is on the wall. And it's just, and they hate it because I will like tape it with tape and just print it. But it's went up on my own tangent. What was the question?
That's good, no problem. Yeah, just about in terms of lessons learned, things that you probably wouldn't do again, or
Yeah. So, man, the things we wouldn't do again is, I would rather chase and have a 6-figure deal take me a year to close than close a $1,000 deal that took me 2 days. Because they usually take the same amount of time on the sales side.
True. Yeah.
Right. And that was revolutionary to us, is if a client's paying $1,000 versus $50,000, the amount of time it takes us to edit is the same.
Right.
Our cost comes from the filming day and the travel, all that stuff. So I would say the one and I like that question. I didn't have that prepped. I think the one thing that I wish we would have done better is, I should have delegated my website design to someone that knows websites. So if you guys go on corporatefilming.net, it's my fault, right? It's so much text, and it's like, where does your eyes go? It's just a lot, right? So I feel like I could go backwards. I would have hired somebody, which we are redoing that. I would have hired someone to make it short, concise, very call to action, very enter email here. Enter email here. And I would just say the one thing that we have done well, actually, that worked on the corporate side, is we don't nickel and dime people. And it's amazing to me how many people will charge like their client parking, and then they have to go through accounts payable to get $18 back, and now they're annoyed by you. And that's the last touch you have with them, is they're annoyed by you. Right. That's the one thing we do, is we take a hit, because I'm like, I don't want to bug them for that.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So back to your very helpful suggestions earlier about storytelling and the importance of being genuine and being real. Obviously, how do you balance you know, how do you maintain that balance between sharing the right amount to show that you're genuine and who you are as a person, and then oversharing, right? You know, I mean, in terms of the cadence of your prospect calls, so I'm not sure. Let's just say you have 3 calls typically in a sales cycle.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know how much to share about yourself in call 1 versus 2 versus 3? Any thoughts around that?
I think the aspect of oversharing and overposting on social, we all think too much about it, because the worst thing they could do is they're just going to not answer your call, or they're going to unfollow you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's really no risk in you posting too much or telling your story too much. But what happens is people don't ever unfollow you, or they don't ever call you and say, stop calling me. They just will keep scrolling or just not answer your phone call.
Sure, sure.
So there's really no loss in trying to humanize yourself, right? So I would really say call 1 I have with people, I actually require a video chat. You know, if they really can't do it, I'm not going to tell a prospect what to do, right? But
is that a post-COVID initiative, if you will, or kind of part of your process, or were you also doing that even before?
Yeah, so when we flipped to subscription, monthly, national filming, we don't have a single local person that we actually work with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So everyone is national. So it kind of has to be that way. So absolutely, I tell them, let's hop on a film chat, you know, meet my, you know, and it's this. And I don't go directly into the sale.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do, it's awkward. It's weird. We've all been there when it's like, God, that's going so bad. And you can't do anything about it. Right.
Right. Right.
But absolutely, the first 5 minutes, I tell them, I ask them, hey, before we dive into what we do you mind if I tell you how much I love what I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Interesting.
And who's going to say, no, I don't want to hear that? They'll say
right.
yes. And then I've learned to not ramble, because I tend to just kind of ramble and go off on things because I'm very passionate about this. I tell them our story. I show them a picture of me as a kid. I show them our team behind the scenes, lifting camera gear and sweating and filming and 5 camera guys, and it justifies the cost. I go, no wonder why you guys aren't $1,000, right?
Exactly right.
So absolutely, I would say the first call, you have to start with your story. You have to talk about your trip you just went on, the kid you just had. If you do have a film chat, start the video chat with your dog in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just be a human. And that's what really COVID has really shown us in the world, is people want to see your life.
Right.
So show that.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was actually a really good chat that someone said, can you tell us your top 3 tips to increase engagement on posts? So guys, please, the best thing you could do with posts is ask a question at the end. And sometimes I forget to do this, but we all should do it, right? So if you post, here are my 5 tips on how to drive sales with video, click here. What was your favorite?
So the call to action is to kind of get their input, if you will, so they're engaged.
Yeah,
Okay,
because if a post gets a lot of engagement, which it used to equal likes, now it equals comments. Mm-hmm. So if your post is commenting and engaged, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, they will actually show it to more people, because they say, oh wow, they're actually talking about this.
Right.
So that would be my first tip, is ask a question at the end. And I would say make it short, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then have a call to action at the end, like click here, mm-hmm. or go to corporatefilming.net/XYZ to find out. And lastly, the number 1 tip is you have to post consistently. You can't expect to post 1 video once a month. LinkedIn does not care about that, or about you, about me, Facebook. But if you post consistently, they literally say, thank you. And you'll start to see your post go up, your post views.
And do you recommend, one of the questions I think from Carl was, do you have a recommendation on which platform to use, or is it largely just based upon kind of where your audience hangs out, if you will?
So LinkedIn is the new B2B for Facebook, right? It's the new B2B, right? I was really behind the times. I got it like in 2017. I was like, I guess my wedding clients weren't on there, right? And then I'm like, wait, now my corporate clients are. So LinkedIn, absolutely, find me by my name on there. Sometimes I will get a really engaged post. Sometimes I'll get 10 people that see it, but that doesn't stop me, right? I keep posting. So 100% LinkedIn, find 20 people a day that you've worked with or that have contacted you on LinkedIn. And if you do that for a month, I don't want to try and do that math, but that would be a lot.
It adds up pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be a lot of people that just hear it, that just see you, but you can't expect an ROI from LinkedIn. It's just that top of mind stuff. It's, oh, there's Ken. Oh, there's Mary. Oh, so LinkedIn 100%.
Great. All right, perfect. And then what about in terms of the platform itself is one thing, but then in terms of kind of the way that you post, right? So, and my thought is around, do we include something about COVID in our post, or I guess more so in our email campaigns? I see some emails that come across that are pure selling, and in my opinion, they're what I call tone deaf, right? You would think that it's just the world was just the way it was 6 months ago, right? And there's no mention of anything at all. It's just, hey, want to buy my services is what it usually is. So do you include something in that? Do you talk about your kind of your experience even in an initial email campaign? How do you and should you incorporate, the pandemic into your strategy?
Yeah. So I'm sure if I asked how many people got a "we're here for you" COVID email, everybody would say that, right? Exactly. And we actually talked about this. We made a huge mistake in our email campaign. It's looking back, it was so cringeworthy. Instead of sending an email out that's like, hey, here are our 5 tips, or here's our latest video with Home Depot, right? The verbiage was COVID-19 discount, and it said save 30%. And it came across so weird, and we were taking advantage of what was going on. And I had a couple clients text me and say, hey, Trev, I like you. I would not send that out. It doesn't look good. And it was a very humbling thing to be like, now is not a time to sell, which is what we wanted to talk about also is as COVID is kind of ending, knock on wood, with the whole shelter stuff, what works really well now is knowledge videos, sharing your knowledge, posting about things that are helpful. But yeah, if I could go backwards, Ken, and redo that email campaign, it would not be 30% discount. It would be, we're here for you.
Right.
Which we already did that. Right now it's too late to send it out, I think, but we did it like two months ago. And that was really engaged because it was our team saying, we're here for you. And I can actually quickly show that too, if that would help. And this was all over Zoom. And we literally just added in a song. And let's see here. So here's the video.
We find ourselves in a time of hope. Hope that we will get to hang out with friends on a Saturday night again. Hope that life will return to normal. Hope that if we all come together and do our part, this too shall pass. From the corporate filming and franchise filming family to yours, stay safe. And above all, keep that hope alive.
So that was one of our most engaged videos of the year because we sent that out. We have a remarketing campaign, which people that don't know that when someone goes on your website, Google grabs. We have to have this set up, right? But Google will grab their IP address and remarket to them up to 540 days. We put a couple $100 a month to that. Just because, like we mentioned, most people won't convert until the 11th time they've seen your logo, right? So, so that's what we actually recommend pre-COVID, during COVID, after COVID. Focus on telling your story and don't be afraid to get authentic, vulnerable. Just be a human. People want to work with people.
Right, exactly. Well, and to your comment a few moments ago also about this is not a time to be selling, right? And we've found the same thing. I do all the BD for Turning Point on the recruiting side, but I decided very early on that this is not a time to sell, right? It's just not. But it is a great time to connect. It's a great time to reach out, see how people are doing. And I started doing a survey. I was taught every person I spoke to, I logged in how they were doing, whether they actually laid people off, if they were adding staff, if they were creating new innovative solutions to release. And then I did that for about 75, 76 companies. And then we actually used the results of that survey, which was not selling. It was just, talking and commiserating to some extent, right? We used that as a post. We said, hey, here's the result of our informal survey over the last 2 months that we're finding out there. It wasn't selling. So I guess my question with that long lead in is, when is the time right to go back to being a little bit more salesy, or do you think we should stay in this storytelling mode for a while till the end of the year?
So there's always time for story, right? You can't just say buy now, look at this. It doesn't work. It's going to turn people off. A great example I heard at a conference once was, imagine after a first date you ask someone, so you want to have kids?
Right.
You want to get married? And that was revolutionary to me, because we've all done that, where you think you have a good call and you say, hey, are we going to do this? And then it just falls off, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I would say you can't, and I just realized how powerful that line was, because I sometimes go right for the sell and I need to just calm down, right? So I would say, yes, start to make content that is very salesy, right? But don't just send just that out. There's always room for story. People don't work with your logo, they work with your people. So even a low res picture of you on your homepage with your team or with your dog, it just makes you human. And a question I want to get to, because I thought it was kind of cool, was somebody goes, how are you pivoting during COVID for in-person filming? And I actually wanted to quickly kind of show that. Hopefully the video's playing through good, right? Or well?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So here's what we did in Phoenix last week. We went to Phoenix. Their office was open, so we filmed them. But people that couldn't travel, we got them on Zoom and we handled it. We asked the questions, and I'll quickly kind of show this video.
Needs of the client, targeting those needs and meeting those needs.
King Air Academy, they allowed me to achieve my passions and my goals in a way that I would have never been able to do. It seemed like such a mountain to try and achieve. It's pretty remarkable. It speaks volumes as to their expertise, their program, and just how well they train.
If you want a training experience.
So right there, Zoom, right? A lot of marketers would say no to this because they're like, man, it doesn't look good. The mic sounds muffled. But at the end of the day, if you can get a customer on film raving about you, that is what you have to do. So hopefully that answered that question, that, as offices start to open up, let's film them at your HQ, maybe do some Zoom sound bites. And it's so attainable. I sometimes get calls. I want to highlight all my 50 offices. I'm like, all right, well, I'm down, but I doubt you have the budget for that because you've never done video, right? So start attainable, highlight one office, right? Talk to 3 executives, 3 staff, and 3 people that have used your service, put it into a 90-second video, and mail that out constantly. So,
so a question that came up earlier also is, can you maybe just, when you said earlier, it's important to post consistently or constantly, as you said also, what does that pace look like? Are you talking about once a week for the average B2B business? How often is that?
So, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk says you should post 3 times a day on every platform out there, right? But he has a full social team, right? So my answer is every single day. It takes 5 minutes to post. If you sell insurance, maybe you Google insurance tips, and there's going to be an article from Hartford or something that says 5 reasons why you need business insurance, right? Maybe the next day it's you with your dog saying, "Happy Friday. Did you know XYZ, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every single day. And at first it will be so weird. It's like, God, I could be making client calls. But it's the little touches that are untrackable on social. So spend the time at 5 minutes a day. And once again, math in my head, that's 25 minutes a week. That's an hour a month. That's 12 hours a year to post every day.
Right.
It's really not that long.
Mm-hmm.
And make them very knowledge posts. Make them very, we are here to help you. Here's what we recommend is this, right?
That's great. Yeah, no, for us also, we try to be creative because at some point you do feel like, gosh, I feel like I've exhausted all the potential content out there. What's left? But we've done things where it's an anniversary of one of our employees, or it was the anniversary for our company a couple of Fridays ago. It was 13 years. So leading up to that, starting in the beginning of May, we did 13 lessons in 13 years. So that's 13 days of content with just one tip a day, to your point, right? Or it could be anniversary moving into your new office, or anniversary of landing your largest client, or whatever it might be, someone's birthday, whatever it might be. That's all relevant content that you can certainly include and use that as a way to share and get that visibility going.
Yeah, and there's a question about, I'll take my Zoom light off. This is a Zoom light, guys. $20, Amazon, just Google ring light, and you put it directly behind your laptop.
Okay.
And that helps. Do not have your window behind you, have your window in front of you so you get that natural light. Because here's my ring light off, right? It's still pretty good. Here's with it on. It just has a little bit, it's really not that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say 100% ring lights just really help with making you look brighter and happier.
Yeah, I agree. And it helps to kind of diffuse the light as well, depending upon where you happen to be sitting also.
Yeah, and these are great questions. Joseph asked, asking ROI questions to clients sometimes leads to them getting upset or getting awkward. Like, I don't know if I say that. It happens to us a lot, right? Like, Trevor, my legal's not going to let me speak, right? Like, we did a project with Home Depot and American Heart, and I was like, you have to tell me how much we helped you. And he's like, I just can't.
Wow, interesting.
I just can't. But I asked. That's all I can do.
Sure.
So for someone that is worried about getting kind of an awkward vibe with that, I wouldn't let that stop you, because you ask 10 people. If one person is able to give you, because of Ken, I was able to find my CEO that grew my business by $1 billion. I mean, that's a great testimonial. So
right, very true.
Don't let that stop you. And I would phrase it as, hey, can I ask a favor of you? I would love a quick testimonial. Can we hop on the phone? And then, because sometimes no's across email come across as like they're yelling, but they're just saying, no, I can't do that. So I always try and call.
Yeah. And then we find the best time to ask that question, make that request, is right after you've done something effective for them. You've been successful with them. They're very excited about, in our case, a new hire or whatever it might be. That's a great time to ask them, hey, would you mind spending 15 minutes on a Zoom call with me? I want to record it. Just use that testimonial. And to your point, most people will say yes. Not all. The larger companies may have some legal issues, as you talked about. But I would bet if you ask 10 people, you're going to get 3 or 4 that are going to say yes.
Yeah, and ask 3 of them if they'll say it on Zoom. And I bet 1 will say yes. And someone else just asked, how do you keep fresh with new wow stories? We get this question a lot. It's like, Trevor, I just want a brand video. I'm like, how can you make more than that? There is so much story that can be told within something. For example, brand video, founder story, employee spotlight, customer spotlight, product spotlight, conference event video, blanking as we're live here, right? But there's so many things, customer testimonial. And the great thing about content is if you have a 3-minute, 5-minute back and forth with someone, you can create 3 pieces of 30-second content from that. So there are stories everywhere. And before you try and highlight your product on video, highlight your people first.
Mm-hmm. It's a great point. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got about 5 or so minutes left here as we begin to wrap up. So other questions that might come up, please feel free to ask those also. So I'm curious what you're expecting to see, again, speaking of the pandemic, what do you expect to see in terms of businesses start to return to live events, right? Conferences, those kinds of things where you're on the front lines with that, if you will. What are you seeing out there? What are you hearing from clients?
So I'm actually going to an Entree Leadership one in 2 months. The Dave Ramsey one about leadership. I love that topic. So that looks like it's on. I even emailed them saying, hey, is this for sure on? So, there's a franchise convention going on in I think they may move states just in case. But yeah, I think events will come back. Whether they will be at full capacity is a different story.
Sure.
But now that should make people kind of jump into gear about, wow, if I pay $10,000 for a booth and I have half the attendees I did last year walking the floor, how can I grab the attention of the half of them? And it's the video, it's the email campaign with video. Think of how many emails we get post events, but how many have a video embedded in them?
Right.
So it's just taking that step further. So I really want events to happen. If you do host your own event or you go to one and your customers will be there, you need to get them on film or even a video. You just have to.
Now, do you do any, as part of your service, do you do any streaming of events if it has to happen locally? And is that part of your service that you offer also?
Yeah. So we love to film events. We can live stream Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, have a password for it, paywall. We don't just bring one guy. We just actually don't even offer that because we want to bring a TV, like a switcher with graphics, and we go a day before to test the Ethernet. So absolutely, if you're having an event, you really should live stream it because I believe half the people are not going to even come, even if it's a big turnout, right?
Right, sure.
You have to live it. You just have to.
Yeah, great. All right, good. So the last question for you, Trevor. So what recommendations would you give? So today we're at the end of May, right? Let's say we're talking 2 months from now. What would you recommend that all the folks on the call will have accomplished between now and, let's say, the end of July? In terms of their branding, their video, their content, those kinds of things that you talked about today.
Oh, the Zoom actually cut out right there. Say that one
Oh,
more
sorry. Yeah, just in terms of what you've been talking about as far as content goes and video in general, what would you suggest people really kind of commit to over the next 60 days?
I would say one of the most attainable things that you can do, and I actually kind of made a slide for this. And by the way, I found a stat as I'm scrolling through my PowerPoint deck. There are over 32.5 million businesses in the US. And there's over 1 billion minutes of YouTube watched every day. So how do we stand out, right? I'm just going to share my screen. I'm not going to full screen it just because it's going to, I have to go to the front. So this is something I challenge people to do, right? So Ken, this is kind of a longer answer, but
that's great. No, perfect.
Something that's so attainable. I believe this will take you no more than 60 minutes, right? After this call, go on your iPhone, go with your webcam, and say something. Hey, I'm Ken. I love what I do. I started my first business. I love helping businesses do X, Y, Z. And here's my dog. Do that. Post it on Facebook and LinkedIn. And even if that's your first video, say first video. Don't be too harsh, right? Just make it authentic. Yeah. You'll just be a human. And the other thing is on your website, right? You need to have a story once again, right? About me, about us, pictures of you, family, what makes you special, quirky, unique. And lastly, get one person on Zoom, send out 10 emails and say, hey, can I grab five minutes of your time tomorrow at 10 a.m. and to talk about us. And I guarantee you'll get someone back that says, sure. And then just post it. Post the raw thing of them talking about you. And it's so that's what I encourage people to do, because it will really help your sales cycle, and it will help you just close things faster because they hear you, they feel you. You're not just about the money, you're really doing what you love.
Right.
So,
yeah, the passion really comes through. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect way to end this. I mean, those are great tips, great suggestions, very, very practical, very down to earth as well. So thank you for sharing that. And I think it covers a lot of the audience that's with us today also, because everybody has a different budget, different comfort level, different expertise. And if we can just move away from that paralysis by analysis, I think it's going to help a lot of folks out. So thank you. That was great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Last thing, please guys, find me on LinkedIn, social media. Everything's right there. My Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And that's my contact info right there. So I would love to see what you guys create. Please email that. I'd love to help out. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. And as always, we recorded the session today, so that'll be going up on our website in the next week or so at most, if not by early next week. So thank you for that. And as Elaine mentioned, also be sure to email her directly to get involved with one of our success quads. We'd love to have you there as well. It's a great way to share and connect with folks, even virtually. So we really encourage you to do that as well. Be on the lookout for our new virtual membership, and then we will see you back here again next month. On the 10th of June, we actually have Dan Yates, who is the CEO and founder of Endeavor Bank, to talk about what he's seeing out there among his clients, pivots, changes in the banking and financial services space, but more importantly, how are businesses surviving and getting through this as well. So it'll be great to have that perspective directly from a bank CEO. So we'll see you all next month, and enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks a lot for being here. Take care.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.